I have big dreams and big goals.
Yeah.
You know, I have such a huge vision for Tate Taylor, and I want to do it tomorrow.
Hi everyone, my name is Gracia Santillana. I'm a reporter here at Forbes. I cover careers, and I'm joined here today with model and founder and chief brand officer at Tate Taylor, Taylor Hill. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. So, you know, very illustrious career that I'm very excited to talk to you about today. But we'll start off at the beginning. You know, you started working at a really young age as a model. Talk to me a little bit about what it was like joining the workforce, you know, as a teenager.
It was a very interesting segue because I was 14 when I was scouted and started modeling, and I left high school at 15. So for me, going from school in Colorado, a small town, to, you know, traveling the world and being on photo shoots and sets and stuff, it was such a different shift in life path. But for me, it was really exciting because I wasn't very good at school in like the traditional sense of like getting good grades, and I always kind of struggled with paying attention and, you know, learning new things, and math not so good. But when I finally, you know, when I got onto sets and I was, you know, getting in this groove of modeling and working and learning about the fashion industry, I just kind of felt like I found where I belong, as sort of a sense of place finally, and something that I was really good at. So even though it was a really big shift and it was like, oh my God, whoa, I can't believe this is happening, I loved it, and I fell in love with something, and I fell in love with my career, so, and what I do for my job, and I'm grateful that I get to do what I love every single day.
Yeah. What was it like kind of getting shifted into that, you know, I'm working, I'm not necessarily going out with friends, I'm not, you know, at a play date. Well, at 14 you're not at a play date, but, you know, like hanging out with friends versus work. What was that mentality shift like?
Well, in the beginning it was funny because I would book jobs and, you know, have to fly from home and to all these places, and I would miss things like school dances or birthday parties. And when I was really young, obviously at 14 and 15, that really mattered to me, and it made me sad that I was missing out on a lot of that stuff. But then, obviously, as I started making more friends in the industry that I was in and getting to know people better, and I didn't feel so, you know, new or intimidated, I started having more fun at work. So it was a shift, the shift, it was really small, where it felt, I'm sad I'm missing this, and I don't get to be there for this birthday or that party or that dance. But then I kind of was, shortly into it, I was like, I can't wait to get out of here again. I can't wait to go there again. I can't wait to be on set again. So it was quick, but there was definitely times when I felt, you know, bummed because I was so little.
Oh, absolutely. And it's interesting, right, is like almost, did you feel like you were growing up in the public eye to some degree?
And I'm not so much like public, but I definitely felt like I had to grow up quickly because when I first started modeling, it was a different time. There was Facebook and some social media, but not how it is today currently. So I still, at that age, had privacy, and, you know, I wasn't like really well known in a sense. I was just modeling, and in the industry I was starting to become known, but it's a very niche crowd when you're that young, and at that time it was only people who really cared and followed fashion would like know who you were. So I didn't feel like I was, you know, just thrust into a sense of fame right away. Also because modeling fame was very different. So then maybe being a young actor, I feel like you get way more attention and way more eyeballs. So I did feel like I had somewhat of a normal childhood, even though I didn't.
Oh, that's good to hear. What was that moment where for you it really switched and you're like, oh my gosh, okay, like people really recognize who I am now, you know, social media following and getting a little bit more insight into maybe your personal life?
I think for me it was when I started doing Victoria's Secret. I started, you know, working with them at 18. So when I booked my first show and, you know, walked the runway, Victoria's Secret was so much a part of the, like, I guess, pop culture and all of that. So more mainstream, I guess, is the word. People would pay attention to Victoria's Secret, who wouldn't be normally paying attention to high fashion, Chanel, Versace, all the other shows I did. When I did Victoria's Secret, it was like, okay, now it's mainstream. And then my social media following just started like kind of going crazy from there. And that was when I was like, oh, whoa, okay, like things are happening.
Exactly. And I mean, you've certainly had a very, illustrious career. You made our 2016 list of highest paid models. And so talk to me a little bit about when you're 18, maybe you're a little bit older, you're getting all this money, all this fame. When you look at the future, right, how sustainable at that point did you think modeling was as a career?
When I very first started, I didn't think it would be very sustainable, and neither did my parents, just because we didn't know anything about it. We didn't know what modeling careers meant. We didn't know anyone who was a model. Like, there was no blueprint on how to do it, and we didn't know how to capitalize or like make sure it's a successful thing. We just kind of were flying by the seat of our pants and hoping something stuck. But my parents were really great because they were so supportive of, as long as I wanted to do it and I loved doing it, they were like, continue to do what you love. So I felt like I had a lot of support from my family to be able to, chase my dreams and do what I want to do. And because I had that support and my parents believed in me, I think that's when I started realizing that this can be a career and this can have longevity. And the more I started doing it and the longer I started working towards, my goals and building sort of my foundation of, paying my dues and all that stuff in the business, I started feeling, okay, I have so many connections and I know so many people here. Like, now I see how modeling can maybe become something that I could do this forever. Not forever, but you know what I mean? Like, for a really long for much longer than you would initially think.
It's interesting, right? Because it's, to your point, it's those connections that really you see the long term. Walk me then, knowing that you could be modeling for the rest of your life and have a pretty good life, decided to start this new brand, Tate Taylor.
So obviously I love my job and I love fashion, but probably my number one passion in the whole entire world, even since I was like a young child, was animals and specifically dogs. I had dogs growing up with my family, 2 family dogs, and I got Tate when I was 18, and they are just like, to me, dogs are such special creatures, and I truly think that we don't deserve them. And for me, starting Tate and Taylor was something that I really wanted to do next to modeling, just because it's something that I'm so passionate about, the pet space, and I just wanted to start doing something where I could be around dogs all the time and add something else to what I'm doing for work that is another thing that I love to do. So I wanted to start the business just because I have so much passion for it, and because I think that there's a lot of room for some change and innovation and growth in the industry, and that's I've been in the modeling industry for 14 years, and I've seen how fashion has changed and evolved and grown, and I would love to apply what I've learned and seen over the last decade and almost a half to the pet space, and maybe see if there's a way I can sort of like shake it up and do it differently. So that's kind of my like thought process of wanting to. Why dogs? I'm like, I don't know. I love them.
Well, exactly. And to your point, it's a huge industry, right? I think it's like about a little over $246 billion in value in 2023. Walk me through what it was like stepping into this huge industry, right? Like, how did that feel?
Well, I think people hear, oh, the pet bit industry is, $200 and something $40 billion industry, and they think, oh, that's huge. I want to get involved because of all the money involved or the amount of money that it makes. But I kind of look at that and think, oh, that's overwhelming. That to me was intimidating because there's a lot out there. It's almost feels sometimes oversaturated just because it is so massive and it is so big, and there's no sense of community or curation or an understanding of what's good and why, who are the founders who are starting these businesses, why are they starting them. It's kind of just like, here's 25 supplements and no reason as to why you should have one versus the other. So when I started doing, research and deep diving into the pet business because I knew I wanted to start a pet company, I sort of saw that, and I had this weird feeling of deja vu and sort of connected it back to when I first got Tate when he was a puppy, and I was feeling this sense of overwhelming. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to buy. How do I train him? What food should I give him? So many opinions, so many different, contradicting ones as well. You should feed him this because of that. You shouldn't feed him that because of this. It's like there was no help, you know what I mean? And I remember feeling, how do I do this? Because so many people have dogs, and if they get a puppy for the first time and there's no true how-to guide, you walk into that 246, what did you say? 246 billion dollar industry, and you're like, oh my god, what? So I was like, okay, I've felt this before, I'm feeling this again. How can I make this better? How can we do something that feels simpler and fresh and clean, and all the things that we have on our website are products that are great and good for your pet, great for your pet, and they're founded by incredible people who have amazing stories as well. So I kind of just wanted to create this place where people could come, and if they don't know what to do, maybe we could help you, and we could help figure it out together, and find really great products and brands that are doing really cool things that are trying to change the pet space.
Well, and let's talk a little bit about that, right? Almost the specifics about how Tate and Taylor works. So how is it part of that larger industry, right? Is it, are you selling specific products? Are you curating? You mentioned that, creating community. How is that all working?
So right now I would say we're a curated online store. We sell other people's products, and then we also do a lot of charity work as well. So a big part of what we want to do is just make sure that we curate and find brands that are trying to be different and innovative, because I think there's a lot of noise out there, and if they're on some of these other platforms or these other websites, or you walk into some of these pet stores, it could be really overwhelming, and there's no sense of guidelines of where and why, and they just sort of it's just you got to do all that work yourself. So sort of how we work and what we want to do is be really intentional with the products that we pick, and say why we picked them, highlight the founders and their stories and why they created that product. Because then when you come to our website, hopefully you have this sense of feeling everything on there is really good and really great and has been, vetted. And we, speak to these founders and hear their stories, and we love talking to them and seeing why they started a business, because I think people are really curious about that too, especially when it comes to your dog or a pet. You love them so much, and you want to make sure that you're giving them things that are good for them, and, trying to the best of your ability to take care of them, and being able to sort of filter through all of the stuff that's out there for you is something that we love the idea of being able to create. And then also the sense of community of, on our social media and our website. And we have, if you subscribe to our newsletter and our blog posts on our website, we sort of talk about, we just did a city guide where it's just pet-friendly places you could take your dog, just cool, fun things that feel interactive, where if you are new to the pet world, or you just got a dog, and you don't know where to go, and you don't know what to do, we have content for you on that. And I just think that was something that was missing when I got Tate at 18, and I wish I had that when I had him. So hopefully I can create that and do that now.
Why choose that kind of marketplace curation approach as opposed to say hey, I'm gonna launch my own t-shirt or my own leashes brand?
I think for me, I looked into doing that, but I felt almost sort of in the beginning I would be adding to the problem. Because why should I make something with no previous experience in the pet space? I'm just walking in for the first time, and create something and tell everyone you should buy it. Why? Oh, sorry. I talk with my hands. I did this done this before. Why would they buy it from me? I have no experience in the space. They don't naturally, people who follow me or know who I am don't naturally associate me with dogs. Maybe because of Tate they do, but not in that sense. And for me, I really wanted to do a store and curation because I wanted to learn. And I wanted to see what was out there, and I wanted to figure out why one brand is doing something different than another, and sort of figure out, you know, where are the gaps in the marketplace? Like, where are people seeing a need for a new product?
Yeah.
And talking with our community and building out what we're doing in our platform. And if we do make something one day, we want to make it for an actual need.
Yeah.
And not just make something just because willy-nilly and say, hey, you should buy this. No, we want to make it with you. Let us know what are the top 5 problems that you're seeing in, you know, having a pet, and where are the gaps and the things that currently exist, or what do you know, as a whole, do we wish existed? And then we can make something based off of that, because then we're creating something that people actually need, and not just like adding to this over consumerism in the pet space where it's already at $246 billion. and I have to compete with that. I would rather just do something good that people really need, and create something out of a need, not out of a, here you go, buy it now. It's like, that's not, I don't find that to be authentic. And I love being able to connect with people and like create something that's for real, just because of the experience and the story and my journey with Tate. Like, you know, we've been through a lot together, and that's my soulmate. And I would never want to buy something or make something that I wouldn't have given to Tate. So that's the whole foundation that Tate Taylor is built on, is just that love for a pet, for a loved one, that I just want to do everything I possibly can to take care of him the best way that I can. And by, you know, curating and finding brands and products and learning, and, you know, hopefully we can, you know, gain some trust in that, because I'm not just trying to like make something and convincing you to buy it. I really want to know and learn before I even make anything.
Taylor, the other thing I want to ask you about today is, you know, obviously there is a ton of different softwares right now that you can use to kind of run your business and run your marketplace. Why do you choose Shopify?
They are a behemoth. They're everything. They do so much, and they also are so great at supporting new businesses and founders. And when we started building our website and doing all of the back-end work with Shopify, we were connected to someone who was helping us do that. And the level of responsiveness and, you know, care and just the time and effort that they put into us was so great. And I think for anyone starting a business, Shopify also started as a small business, and look what they've built. You know, I think that question is like, why Shopify? I mean, why not? Because I think just all the tools that they have and how willing and ready they are to support their businesses and like the people that they have on their platform, and also connect us to others, because we do drop shipping and we work with other vendors. Being able to connect with them and like on the back end plug in on Shopify, it just makes it a really easy and seamless process, because we're a small business, and some of the businesses that we're working with and that we're selling on our marketplace are also small businesses. So we have just like this great team and just so much support there, and I think that they're an amazing partner, and they've been really generous and really helpful with me, because we're a really small team. You know, people may think that I'm doing some big venture thing right now, and it's really not. We're a team of 5, and it's me and 4 other people that work on Tate Taylor, and we run everything together. And having the support of Shopify is like having an extra team member and teammates that we can ask questions and call on if we're having like, you know, technical problems or we need customer support, and they help us connect to all these other incredible people. So Shopify has been brilliant and really great, and a huge support for us.
Absolutely. On that note, real quick, you know, when you're hiring, obviously it's a small team, but when you were hiring, you know, people to bring onto the Tate and Taylor team, what to you was kind of the telltale question that you would ask that really signaled like, hey, this is someone that I want to work with me?
Do you like dogs?
Of course.
No, that's my first interview question. I'm like, so do you like dogs? How do you feel about dogs? No, I think for me it was kind of seeing their past experience. Where did they come from? What was their past work experience like? And then also, are they able to sort of like wear many hats? Because we are a really small team, and hiring people who I know that they can take on more than one task, or, you know, wear different hats, and, you know, things fall under different areas and categories. We don't have you know, a marketing team, like a operations team. We have one person in each sector, really, and they do so many different things, and there's a lot of crossover. So I feel like in the beginning, when I'm starting to hire in like a startup phase and like a new business phase, looking for people who are flexible, who, you know how to adjust, and who pivot like me and are like-minded, and also creative in a sense, because while they can have a really technical background, that's really great, but are you creative in problem solving and finding solutions? Because that's where other people and other team members need help, is creative problem solving. And well, why don't we do this? And how about we ask that person? I'll reach out to them. And it's just not being defeated by a problem, because there's a lot in the beginning. So seeing an issue and being like, okay, how can we come at this from a different angle and just think outside the box? So that was something that I also really looked for, and had a lot of support and help in finding people with, you know, just, you know, my team's great. So we love them.
Absolutely.
Half of them are here right now.
Oh, amazing. Well, I think that's an interesting point that you mentioned, and I love talking to founders who really highlight this aspect of learning, right? You might have a really good idea, something, but no one is perfect, no one knows everything, and you kind of need to learn the other parts of the business. I know you've talked about this a little bit before, but what was it like starting a business with limited, I'll say, you know, business school traditional background?
I have no traditional education, technically, in a sense. I mean, I have a GED, but I went to work at 14, and I think I learned a lot by doing. And I think a lot of my education comes from being on sets and seeing how businesses work and function and operate. And, you know, all of the work and all of the moving parts that it takes for a photo shoot to even happen, and all the people that are on set. And, like, it's not just about me or a photographer or a client. There's so many people that need to be there, that we rely on to make a photo shoot or a commercial or a fashion show happen. And sort of seeing how all those puzzle pieces fit together, I've learned a lot over, you know, 14 years in a certain industry, that I feel like I was able to sort of apply that to starting a business. Because when you first start a business, you know, someone always told me it's like a startup or running a company is like it's a loosely functioning disaster.
Oh, yes.
It's not an easy thing. And people think, oh, I'm just going to like start this company. It's just going to be great. And I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And it's so chaotic. There's so many moving pieces. There's so much that goes into building a business, that I feel like because of my past experience in the fashion industry being so chaotic, so many moving pieces, never knowing where I'm going until the next, like I could go somewhere tomorrow. You know what I mean? It's very... I've just been flying by the seat of my pants for 14 years, just hanging on. Like, maybe one day I'll have a normal life. No, I'll be fine. But so I think that being able to be so flexible and, okay, if something doesn't work, like pivot on to the next, move on. How do I, you know, apply something that technically makes no sense and apply it into this space and figure out how to get it done. So I think just like having that, the fact that I don't have this traditional sense of an education, I think it gives me a different perspective and a much more open mind when it comes to business and entrepreneurship. So I don't know, I just kind of feel like I have no idea what I'm doing, but also hopefully I'll just figure it out, and then like maybe I will know what I'm doing. Call me in 10 years, you know what I mean?
Oh my God, the question, do any of us know what we're doing at this point? But I think that's an interesting point, right? Like the chaos. What's like the best piece of advice that you got in kind of those early days that really stands out to you as like, you know what, maybe I should have listened to that more? I
think the one piece of advice is it's an every single day thing, and it's little steps every day. And sometimes you have I have big dreams and big goals. You know, I have such a huge vision for Tate Taylor, and I want to do it tomorrow. Like, why isn't it happening yet? You know what I mean? But these things take time. And a really great piece of advice, or a way somebody phrased it to me, was like, keep that big goal and like keep that big vision and think about it every day. And do those little steps that you have to do, whether it be these little tedious emails or responding, or, you know, this event, and it's smaller and it builds to the next one. Like, it's the little steps every day that you can do and take that build over time to creating that really big goal and that big vision that you have in mind.
Yeah.
But sometimes the bigger you dream, the bigger of a goal you'll accomplish.
Yeah.
But the bigger the goal, the harder it's, the more work you're gonna have to do. Like, the harder it's gonna be to get there. But as long as you do little steps every single day, you can get there. It will just take time. And I think I got really frustrated in the beginning because I was like, why isn't this happening yet?
Yeah.
And it's like, it takes time to do these things, and, you know, getting trademarks and getting a website, and it takes months, and you don't realize that, and you're like, why isn't this launched yet? And it's because you gotta do all these things first, you know? So I think just you gotta take a breath and keep thinking, you know, envisioning your big picture, and then everything that you can do, every single little thing, little steps you can take every day.
Yeah, it's all the logistical stuff, right? Getting a trademark, figuring out manufacturing, supply, like shipping, all of those different
vendors,
things.
drop shipping,
Exactly.
Shopify. I was like, oh my gosh, all these words that I know now. It's so fun.
Exactly. We kind of have hinted about this throughout our conversation, but walk me through what, you know, any similarities that you see between the modeling industry and now the pet care business.
I really see so many. You wouldn't think it would correlate, but I do. I feel like, you know, in the fashion industry, there's people creating things and designing stuff, and, you know, you want for all different types of people and different career paths, there's some sort of fashion for someone, right? Yeah. And I also feel like fashion is such a great way of expressing yourself, and I do think of it as sort of an art form, and that's why I love it so much. It's so creative, but it's also a business, and, you know, these brands and these fashion companies are businesses, and they have to, you know, create items that sell, and they have to make product and, you know, hold inventory, and they do all of that stuff on the back end, whereas, like, on my end, it's way more creative. We're just like on a set doing a shoot, but there's a vision and a creation behind it that people want to buy it, you know what I mean, or people want to be a part of it and own, like, a bit of that brand, that idea, that piece of, what am I trying to say? Sometimes it's really hard to articulate. It's this feeling of being a part of something that you love, or if you love, like, the idea of this brand, or what their creativity that they've, you know, presented to you, you want to be a part of it. So in that sense, it's in the pet space, it's it's the same thing. It's like, it's your dog, it's a part of you, it's a pet, like, you love it, you want to take care of it. It's a different thing, whereas I feel like fashion is more like, I see it as a lot more artistic, a way to express yourself through, like, fashion and the clothes that you wear, and if you love fashion, if you love, you know, art and all of those things. And then for pets, it's like, it's more just, I feel like it's a, like, lifestyle, it's family, it's bonding, it's caring, it's having love for something, taking care of someone. And I think those two things, while they're different, you can sort of apply them in similar ways. And I think there's a lot of similarities in, you know, creating something for a pet or a dog is like creating something. If you were starting a fashion company, like, a lot of these creative directors are creating clothes for people that they love, or they have an inspiration or a muse in mind, you know, like Jane Birkin. She was a muse, and now we have the Birkin bag. And
exactly.
For pets, it's sort of just, there are such a huge part of our hearts, and you know, Tate is my muse in a way, and he's no longer with us, but everything that I do for him, and everything I would, if he was still here today, what I would still be doing for him. So I do feel like there's some sort of connection and correlation between the two. And while a business is really crazy and there's a lot of work and there's a lot of technical things and you know, logistics involved, I do find that it's extremely creative, and that's why I'm really loving it.
I love that. The other thing we haven't talked about yet is social media, right? And to your point earlier, social media has really changed the game in the last 14 years, definitely even the last 5 years. I think, you know, with the emergence of TikTok, it's really kind of taken a new lens.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
Talk to me a little bit of what it's like and what you've seen in your own profile in terms of, you know, your, we'll say, like, the modeling fashion audience and then the pet audience. What is that like, even within your own kind of account?
I think I mean, social media is a whole thing. I don't understand.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I get it, but I don't.
Yeah.
Like, it's such a useful tool, and it's great, and it's amazing, and I think it's kind of incredible that I started my Instagram when I was 16, and I still have, people will come up to me and be like, I've been following you since,
oh my God,
you know, way back, and I'm like, oh my God, wow. Yeah. It's an amazing thing to feel connected to people and just share bits of your life with people, and I think in terms of things that I've seen in, you know, the fashion space and the modeling space, is that people who've been following me for so long, they feel like they knew Tate, and he was such a big part of my life, and a part of my life that I shared a lot. And when I, you know, shared that Tate was diagnosed with lymphoma and he was in the hospital, I got a lot of support from so many people. Like, I got you know, thousands of comments and messages, just people reaching out and sending me support and love, and it was an incredible thing to see. And I do think that even though I've been so much in the fashion industry, I think there's another level that I get to connect with people on when it comes to dogs or pets that's just different. And hearing people's stories and hearing them, you know, share what they went through when they lost a dog, it made me feel less alone, and it made me feel more connected to the following that I have, because I felt like we were kind of going through something together. And I think that there is just this little like sub-thread of people in my, you know, little world there that just know. They're like, oh, they're like my dog people, you know, and they get it. So for me, I've always found that there's just being able to connect and have a human experience and an interaction with people is really important, and I think dogs help us do that. And while everybody always, you know, maybe may think of me or see me in the fashion space, I think maybe it's really, they feel more connected to me having known what I went through with Tate, and I feel more connected to them because of the stories, because of the stories that they shared with me when I lost him.
It's interesting, right, how, you know, an animal, something that's not human, can make the humanness really come out. And really bring that out in people. Have you noticed a difference in terms of your engagement, right? Like, do your high-profile modeling, you know, photo shoots get more engagement than the pet and pictures of Tate, or is it the opposite?
I mean, it depends. I mean, if it's something, you know, in terms of fashion that I'm doing that's really cool and it gets a lot of traction, then that's great, and it's really exciting, because I think that people do get excited about stuff like that when it's just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe, you know, maybe she finally booked that, or like did that thing, or I wanted to see her there. So people do get excited, but I think sometimes I get maybe even more views and more connections and responses from people when it comes to dogs, because people love their dogs.
Yeah, exactly.
I love my dogs. Like, I'm obsessed with them. And I think that the content that I get to create is so much more, so different. And sometimes not more fun, but just more, I could just get to be myself more, I think, because this is my business and an expression of who I am and what I love and my passion. So when we're like, you know, when I'm making content and, you know, posting pictures of my dogs, it's just like, that's just so me, you know. And I think whenever people get a glimpse of seeing and being able to connect to you, then it does really well, and it's really exciting, and I love that. Like, yes, it's just, look at my dog, is he gorgeous? Like, I don't know, it's just, that's how it is, I guess.
Exactly. How are you balancing now your day-to-day? You know, obviously, as you mentioned, modeling can be a very hectic career where you're jumping from one place to another, and building a business can also be the same way, right? Like, you're hopping on calls and meetings every other minute, it seems.
Yep. I would say I'm not balancing at all.
Oh, no. It's a very real answer. I appreciate that.
But I love that. I have no format. I have no advice. If anything, I would love some. How do I do this? How do I do both? It's a juggling act, and it's a lot of work. But I really love it. Like, I feel like I kind of just like thrive in chaos. I'm like, okay, like, here we go. And you know, I'm like flying all over the place, and you know, I was here in New York, and I was shooting and working here, and then the next day we got on a plane to Paris, and I was shooting in Paris for 2 days and like taking Tate and Taylor calls. But also, like, how insane and amazing is that? Sometimes I'm just like, what is my life? Like, I'm in Paris. Like, this is so crazy. So for me, I just have, it's not balancing anything. For me, it's just like finding joy and gratitude in every single day, because if you let it get overwhelming, you will get overwhelmed. If you let stress get to you, you will get stressed. I obviously feel all those emotions, and that's fine, but I just take a breath and try to find the positive, like try to find the optimism, because I'd never want to feel like I'm in a position of feeling ungrateful or, oh, I'm tired or any of that. I want to feel excited every day because I've worked so hard to get here, and I'm finally here and I'm doing these things. I'm at Forbes. Okay, like, we're good. I'm just chilling. Like, I just feel like I'm just trying to be so grateful and find joy, rather than being like, oh, I have to do all of this and balance and compartmentalize and have a schedule and be organized. I'm like the opposite of all those things, but we make it work, you know?
Oh, absolutely. And I think that's a great topic to end our conversation with, because yes, it's busy, you're going all around, and sometimes you just, want to take a break. But thank you so much for being with us today, Taylor. And
thank you so much.
Of course.
That was fun.
I'm glad.